UFO sightings seem to be more common than ever, from what look like flying squids to mysterious floating rings.
Nah, I reckon it's an alien.
Unidentified flying objects are by no means a new phenomenon. But these days, it's easier for anyone to film them. And the US government has finally acknowledged that they exist. The Pentagon even released UFO videos captured by the military for the first time ever. But how can you tell what they are and whether they're from Earth or somewhere else? We went through dozens of UFO videos, some taken by regular people, others once classified, to figure out what's really going on.
That's in the sky. Here, I'll zoom out.
One big problem we have with UFOs is that there's so much evidence, but there's so much really bad evidence.
Mick West is an investigator of UFO videos with a background in physics and 3D geometry. He calls all the evidence out there bad because the videos are often poor quality or have logical explanations. Mick wouldn't have been fooled by this.
This gap in the trails, and that's something that's obviously very indicative of a two-stage rocket. One stage is finished, they switch it off, they jettison it, and then they fire up the engines in the next stage.
Turns out there actually was a SpaceX rocket that launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base that night, about 130 miles from where the video was taken.
Liftoff,
In fact, Mick had an explanation for every single suspected UFO video we showed him.
These are actually pyrotechnic skydivers. These are people who jumped out of a plane with flares attached to their ankles, and they're just basically floating down towards the ground.
He's right. That night at a college football game in Salt Lake City, there actually was a pyrotechnic performance by the US Navy parachute team called the Leapfrogs.
It looks to me exactly like a meteorite. But we've seen green ones before, and they look exactly like this, and they move at about that speed.
Other videos from the same night captured a similar green object in the sky, and according to NASA, it was one of the most active periods for meteors that year.
The green comes from the composition, the chemical composition of the meteorite.
That's in the sky right now, everybody.
It's some kind of kite, some kind of kite that's being flown, and we often see kites with multiple streamers behind them.
We found that there are plenty of green spaces and a kite shop around where this video was taken. And about a month earlier, a local publication confirmed that an octopus-shaped kite has been frequently sighted in the sky, and that an alien invasion is not underway.
So I think probably a Coast Guard helicopter has dropped two flares from a very high altitude. They're being used to illuminate the surface of the ocean to try to find a capsized boat or something like that. When it's about to go out, you'll launch two more, and they'll come into view. There'll be a few seconds where you see four flares, and then the bottom ones, which are now lower, will fade out.
And there actually is a Coast Guard station on the beach at Cape Lookout in the direction of the flares seen in this video.
This actually is a smoke ring. It could be something like a gasoline explosion. The heat makes the smoke ring rise, and because it's from a centralized location, you get this vortex, a circular vortex that goes all the way around, and you see it rising up just like a regular smoke ring that someone blows from a cigarette or pipe smoke. Another way you see these happen is from transformers exploding. This is kind of a fairly common thing.
These apartment buildings in Russia are actually near several factories where something like this could have happened, as well as a number of fireworks stores. And right after this incident in Canada, it turns out local government officials tweeted about a power outage.
It's not unidentified alien phenomena. The literal definition of UFO is just an unidentified flying object, and a bird or a plane in the distance can be an unidentified flying object.
In April 2020, the Pentagon declassified 3 videos taken by the US Navy and confirmed that the aerial phenomena were unidentified. Alex Dietrich was one of the fighter pilots who saw this specific incident happen. During a routine training in 2004 with the USS Nimitz off the coast of San Diego, she watched the object hover over the water and then suddenly speed out of view.
We noticed something in the water that seemed to be disturbing the water or making it churn. This white oblong shaped object that was moving very fast. We don't know what it was. It could have been a natural phenomenon, it could have been human activity, but the point was that it was weird and we couldn't recognize it.
The video is now known as FLIR 1, but Mick says what we're seeing is just a trick of the lens.
What's actually happening there is that the camera was actually tracking this object the whole time. At the end of the video, the operator has switched through these different modes of the video so rapidly that the camera has just lost lock on this object, and so it stops tracking it. The most likely thing would be that it's some kind of jet engine, and we're getting this illusion of motion from the operator moving the camera around. You could say it's a UFO because it's unidentified, but it's probably just another plane.
Another video released by the Pentagon was taken on a training flight off the USS Theodore Roosevelt in 2015, near the coast of Florida. Mick has a similar explanation for this video, which is known as gimbal.
You see these clouds kind of whizzing by. It doesn't mean they're actually whizzing by. This is just the parallax effect. It's the motion of your plane creating a kind of apparent motion in this object.
Parallax effect is what happens when you're looking out a car window and objects that are closer to you seem to be moving much faster than ones that are far away.
But the interesting thing about this video really comes later when the object appears to rotate. And I think what's actually happening here is we're not seeing the rotation of an object, but what we're seeing is the infrared glare of a very hot object, and specifically a jet engine. And because the camera behind it is rotating, that just causes the glare to rotate.
This number at the top of the screen shows that the camera starts off pointing 54 degrees to the left. As that number changes, it means the camera is shifting. The moment it transitions from left to right, the glare rotates too.
It will do it at about 0 degrees, and that's what we see.
The third declassified video was also taken in 2015 by pilots training off the USS Theodore Roosevelt along Florida's coast. An object seems to be moving rapidly near the water. The video is known as Go Fast.
Oh my gosh, dude. Wow, look at the fly.
And Mick says it's actually not that exciting when you break down its mathematics. The negative 22 degrees means the camera is pointing 22 degrees below horizontal. The 4.1 means the distance in nautical miles to the object, and 25,000 is the altitude of the plane in feet.
We can use all of that to find where is this object in space. It's just high school trigonometry, essentially. It's a distance and it's an angle, and it's the sine of the angle multiplied by the distance.
It turns out the object isn't actually down by the water, but rather halfway between that and the plane. It's also not moving very fast, just about the speed of the wind.
What's the most likely thing? It's probably a weather balloon, which is a pretty boring explanation.
So if these videos actually have boring explanations, why hasn't the government said so?
There's a wall of secrecy around these things in the military, not because they're trying to protect the aliens, but simply because it's just the default position to keep everything secret.
The Department of Defense told Insider that any investigation into these videos would remain classified to protect our people and intelligence methods and to avoid revealing anything that may be useful to potential adversaries. In November 2021, the DoD announced that a new group would be working across government agencies to look into cases of unidentified airborne objects. It was a response to an earlier intelligence report that called for more funding and resources to assess these kinds of sightings, which could fall into one of 5 categories.
The first one being this airborne clutter, things like birds and balloons. The second one being atmospheric phenomena, which is things like clouds or other types of optical reflections and refractions and phenomena in the sky. And then there's possible secret technology that the US military is testing, or perhaps SpaceX is testing something like a drone. Then there's possible foreign military involvement. And then they have a final category of other, which I guess would include aliens and things, but they never mention aliens.
Still, over half of Americans the Pew Research Center surveyed in 2021 believe that aliens have visited Earth, and they found ways of collecting their own evidence of it. In this online forum called UFO Stalker, sightings are mapped in real time, with over 5,000 recorded just this last year. Some astronomers have voiced their theories as well. When a flat cigar-shaped object zipped and tumbled through a solar system in 2017, Harvard professor Avi Loeb suggested it was an alien probe. Its high speed and unique trajectory in and out of our solar system proved that it wasn't bound by our sun's gravity.
Perhaps it is artificially produced, and we should check whether it has any radio communication signals coming out of it.
A later study found that there were no artificial emissions coming from it, leading most scientists to believe it was likely a shard of rock or a cloud of dust grains. But it was still the first time an object from another star system had been detected, and it became known as Oumuamua, which is Hawaiian for scout or visitor from afar arriving first.
Now here on this map are pinpointed locations where some 30 saucers have been sighted and are still unexplained.
The thing is, Mick actually does believe that extraterrestrial life exists somewhere in the universe.
The big question really is, are they visiting Earth right now? And secondary question is, have they visited in the past? I don't see the evidence yet. What would make something unambiguous would be perhaps much more clarity, much higher resolution video, or ideally, two videos. One from one angle and position, one from a different position. So you could triangulate where this object was in space. And once you can do that, then you can say 100% that this object was making this maneuver. That, for me, would be the gold standard of a genuinely interesting UFO video. Maybe aliens are visiting, but they're doing it very, very quietly, and they're not leaving any evidence at all. So I'll believe it when I see it.
The earliest known photograph was taken in Mexico in 1883. Several hundred objects were seen crossing the sun, and simultaneous sightings were reported from Mexico City and Puebla. Hundreds of thousands of photographs have been taken. Most have been dismissed as fakes, but this one, taken over Oregon in 1950, has never been satisfactorily explained. In January 1958, a Brazilian naval vessel was engaged in marine research off an island in the Atlantic when a strange object was sighted over the sea. It was seen simultaneously by a number of observers gathered on the deck. One of them, an expert photographer, took these pictures. The object moved at low speed over the mountains and disappeared briefly behind a peak. It was then seen again, flying away at high speed before it disappeared. This film was taken by an amateur photographer in Montana in 1950. It's been analyzed over and over again. Some people see two round silvery craft. Others believe it's two Air Force jets, reflecting the sunlight as they circle to land at a nearby airport. Alleged UFO sightings are always the subject of intense investigation and speculation. An ATV camera unit were filming in a field in Oxfordshire in 1971 when they saw a bright orange ball in the sky. People in 6 other locations in the district later reported sightings as well. After some seconds, the object moved off, leaving a vapor trail. Many theories, including jets unloading fuel, have been offered as explanations, and the cameraman included a foreground shot to show that there was no trickery. Detailed examination and inquiries about the film seem to eliminate conventional jets or planes, and these pictures imply enormous changes of speed.
Tell my number on my, 160 on my Zoom. 140, 86, 64, 60. Can that be a planet? $80 on the zoom. $96 zoom. It's lit up. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
What it look like to you?
Two Hershey's sitting butt to butt.
It's the biggest Hershey kiss I've ever seen. See that line there? That's what it is.
It looks like shiny on the bottom and not at the top.
In the video?
No, like if you look up there.
Oh, if you look
like
up there?
it looks shiny at the bottom and then nothing at the top.
Well,
It just looks round at the top.
actually the sun's set down over there and it's down on another side, so the sun's on the bottom side of that thing right now. And I got a feeling that's why it's so bright. I'm not sure. There's two more overhead though.
Where?
One right there.
Well,
one
I
over
can't
there.
see.
I know. I know there's two. There could be more. I don't know. I just know.
See, it's white. Whenever they turn or whatever, and it causes their either the underside is white or their top side is white.
I've never seen that before.
I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Forward. Quite a bit left. Now.
Head left.
Rolling. Still on versus Thomas Strip 5 knots. Too large over the woods.
¿A la nodriza? Todavía no llega al azul.
Mírenlo, 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 mírenlo.
Mírenlo, mírenlo, mírenlo. Vean, ¿es el mismo otro?
Comandante, solo es un comandante de una nave. Mira. Están trabajando.
Skip saya.
Du, siehst du das auch? Abartig, oder?
E aí o perímetro do presídio, eu vou dar o zoom aqui, vou tentar parar a câmera. Diz que todos esses avistamentos aí, quando tem, não tem resolução, né? Agora eu entendi por quê. Mesmo o meu celular em ótima qualidade, eu ainda não consigo pegar a qualidade boa.
The sky is black everywhere. See that? But then there's this one spot in the sky that's completely, and it's just like beaming or flashing. And I don't know if anybody else is looking at this. But wait, I'm gonna zoom in. Look. It's like a big, I know I ain't tripping. It's like a big ball of, and it's not the moon. And it ain't nowhere. Just right there. Yeah, I'm bugging it. I don't know, maybe I'm high. Okay, let me turn the light off. See that? I turned my light off. And it's still there. That's scary. That's really scary. And it kind of looks now like it's pulling away a little bit.
Today's December 29th. Walking through my Israelite brother, my Ak. So what up, Ak? Walking, and we see some type of light in the sky, and it's changing colors. And it's changing different colors. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah.
That's crazy. It's like a blue light that appears and disappears.